Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. I've got my golf shirt on for the weekend. Um, Welcome to my Friday live stream. I am headed out of town literally the second this ends because I am driving to Richmond, Virginia, because my older son has, you guessed it, a soccer tournament. This is actually a showcase where college coaches come and watch. Even more stressful. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Let me make a quick pitch now. Um, Subscribe to my channel. We are on the march. We're almost to 87,000 subscribers. I'd love to get to 100,000, mostly because I want that cool plaque that they give you. So subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button. It's free and it's easy. Those are two great things in life. You can support me in a bunch of ways. That's one way. Another way you can is if you see the little rectangle in the bottom right of your screen with the money sign in it, that's for a super chat. If you want to make a donation to me, I would love that. It would help me, and I will bump your question up to the top of the pile and make sure it gets answered. I will tell people who are new to this live stream, I'm going to answer pretty much every question that gets asked. So if you can't donate, I get it. The other thing I would ask you to check out is go to my Substack, just my newsletter, chriscillizza.substack.com. Check that out. I'm making content every single day there, video and mostly written content. I think if you like this, you'll like that. Again, I don't want to be a beggar, but I want you to understand I'm an independent news creator, which means the way that I make a living is through donations and subscriptions. So if you want to subscribe or donate, thank you. Other thing you can do, as I said, I'm headed to Richmond for the weekend for soccer. You got coffee places, you got lunch places, you got breakfast places, you got dinner places. Tell me about it. It's going to be my whole family. So consider that in things. But if you got anything, throw it in there. All right, here we go. Let's start from the top. Craig Skeptic. Craig, thank you for your donation. That's very much appreciated. Craig says, hey, Chris, what is going to happen with the one big beautiful bill in the Senate? Can it pass with a simple majority? Can the Dems filibuster it? So, Craig, good question. So this is a little complicated. Basically, what you need to know is it can pass with a simple majority, and no, Democrats cannot filibuster it. So it's being considered under reconciliation. It's just a term that allows for a simple majority to pass this kind of legislation because it relates to budget and federal spending. You can't do this with every piece of legislation, but you can do it when it more narrowly is related to budget and how the government spends money. So they will only need a simple majority, which means that Republicans can afford to lose 4 votes. They have a 4-seat majority. They can lose 4 votes with J.D. Vance casting a tiebreaker vote and still pass it. My guess is no Democrats vote for this, even in the final version. Rand Paul from Kentucky, Republican, has already said he's going to be a no. I doubt that changes, but so now can lose 3 votes. What's going to happen here is they're going to make the bill a little bit more palatable to more moderate elements within the Republican Party. The Senate is more moderate. It's controlled by Republicans, but more moderate than the House. So they're going to do a few things to make it a little more moderate. Then they're going to send it back to the House and basically say, you can't change anything because if you do, we can't pass it anymore. And the House will have to decide, do we approve this or do we not? And, at that point, it's going to be, do the fiscal conservatives, who are going to lose some of the things they want from the House bill in this Senate bill, do they suck it up and vote for it, or do they cause a crisis? Don't know. My guess is they suck it up and vote for it. But to your specific question, Craig, it can pass with a simple majority, and Dems cannot filibuster it. Let's see. Question. Sam's still a Cillizza fan. Hey, Chris, do you think Biden timed the announcement of his cancer to overshadow Original Sin, or was it a coincidence? When are you launching a paid sub tier on YouTube? All right, let me answer those. Since they're separate questions, I'll answer them separately. Yes, I think the announcement of Biden's cancer was planned in terms of timing. People who follow me regularly know I say all the time there are no coincidences in politics. So no, I do not believe that it just happened that they announced that Biden had aggressive prostate cancer on Sunday afternoon, less than 48 hours before this book, Original Sin, which I always show people. Here's my copy. It's heavily marked up. I took a lot of notes and underlined. What is this? Clooney is what I wrote there. But no, there are no coincidences. I don't know that they knew about this while he was president. But I think they could have certainly held off on announcing it, but they chose to now because I think or when they did, because I think they did want to maybe drum up a little sympathy for him, get attention away from the book. I'm not sure it worked, to be honest, Sam. I think it probably, I don't know if it got more attention for the book, but it certainly made Joe Biden and his health the conversation until this morning when Donald Trump proposed more tariffs. So, you know, I don't know if it worked, but I do think it's on purpose. To your second question, when am I launching a paid sub tier on YouTube? So I have it on my to-do list literally for the last 3 months. I'm interested in what people make of it. My plan is I do a lot of stuff behind a paywall on Substack, and I do interviews like with Chuck Todd. I do interviews with newsmakers that are video, but behind the paywall there. I don't want to make them free on YouTube because that seems unfair to my Substack subscribers, but I think I could put them behind a paywall and maybe do some other videos, like another video a day. Would people be willing to pay for that? I don't know. I'd love your thoughts. I want to make sure I'm focused on growing the free element of YouTube because I think we're growing so fast. But I also am mindful that some people might want to pay more for premium or more regular content. So thanks, Sam. And if people have thoughts, please let me know about them. Justin Z, what are your thoughts on Greenland making a deal with the EU? I don't know. Look, I think Greenland is very much a chip in this broader international conversation. Obviously, you have Russia and China eyeing it. Obviously, Donald Trump eyeing it. I don't think the U.S. is invading Greenland, but I think Greenland understands it's going to have to make some moves here. So I don't know. I don't totally know the answer to that. It's a good question. Brett Green, hey Chris, how long do you think Biden's health cover-up will haunt the Democrats for? Does it nullify any criticism for Trump's health when Dems try to point out to something being wrong? I mean, it's a hard argument to make that like Donald Trump isn't releasing any of his medical records or talking about his health history or current health in a transparent way, which by the way, he isn't. I think it's really hard to make that case credibly if you're Democrats right now. Look, I'm interested to see how long this damage lasts. I noted in my newsletter on Substack yesterday that Antonio Villaraigosa, who's the former mayor of Los Angeles, he's running for governor. He's a Democrat. And he this week attacked both Kamala Harris and Javier Becerra, both of whom were in the Biden administration, for this cover-up, that they didn't ask the right questions, that they knew about it. So it's already impacting future races, like a giant future race, like the California governor's race. How much does that become a thing in other races? I don't know. I will say I think it's very likely that in the 2028 Democratic presidential contest, if you are in that space, you are going to continually be asked about what you knew and when you knew it, whether that's Chris Murphy in Connecticut, Pete Buttigieg, who was in the administration, Kamala Harris, if she runs for president. So I don't know if it's how long it's going to be the central issue, but I think it will be an issue for the foreseeable future. Patrick Murray, hey, Chris, have you been following the Boston mayor's race? It's an unpopular liberal incumbent versus a mod left corporatist. Can this election teach the Democrats anything? Would be a great video if you covered it. So, Patrick, I have not been following it closely. I have seen, though, this happened in San Francisco. I have seen some backlash to the kind of liberal, ultra-liberal mayor thing in the last couple of years, and that being replaced by kind of like a business guy who's still a Democrat, or business guy or woman who's still a Democrat, but much less sort of reactionarily liberal. So let me look into it. But Boston is not alone in that dynamic. I think that's happening in other places too. Franz George Leopold Pagel, the longest name of the regulars on this live stream. Hello, my friend. Can you talk a bit about the bad and good of tariffs for both sides? Thank you for your work. So, what's hard about this, FGLP, is the political implications of the tariffs are almost exclusively bad. Like, it creates uncertainty. The stock market goes down. The bond market falters. The US dollar gets less strong. So it's like, politically speaking, it is bad for the Republican Party. Economically speaking, I would say, I'm not an economist. I can speak to the politics much better. Economically, most economists say tariffs don't work. that they create trade wars and that no one wins in the trade war. There are some economists, many of whom support Donald Trump, who say they actually do work. They're a powerful incentive to companies to move into the United States to manufacture things. They are a negotiating tactic to get other countries to the table. What I would say is in the near term, I don't see a huge amount of gain. Maybe in the long term, if you buy Donald Trump's logic, it's going to change the way in which we interact with the world and the way they interact with us economically. Maybe. I just don't know if he can withstand the political pain that's going to come in the near term for that potential long-term gain. And again, most economists don't think there's going to be a long-term gain, but if you do, it's not going to come in the near future. So good question, though. KS, hey, Chris, Macau listener here. Love your videos. Thank you. How do you see the future interaction between the independent and the legacy media if the legacy media keeps losing market share? Would it undermine their ability of doing the hardcore reporting, which the independent media generally hasn't got the full ability to replace? Yes. You have nailed a fundamental issue. I was literally talking about this yesterday with a media sort of strategist who I'm friends with. And what we were talking about is we need the legacy media's news gathering operations. Like, I am not going to create a news gathering operation, at least not in the near term, where I'm like sending people out to report on all these Senate races and having someone cover the White House and travel with the president. Like, I don't have the resources to do that. These places still do. But I agree. I mean, look, I'm going to write more about this, but one thing I will say is I think that the legacy media is going to be in a bad place for the foreseeable future, and here's why. As independent media becomes more financially viable, and it's definitely more financially viable today than it was 5 years ago, and I think it'll be more financially viable for independent creators in 5 years than it is today. I think you're going to see some high-profile people with followings who work at these legacy media outlets be like, wait, I can make more money outside of the legacy media than I can make within it, and I can be my own boss, and I can keep all the money, and I can make the decisions myself, and I'm free of a bureaucracy. And I think more and more of those people will be like me, and they will leave. The problem with that, of course, is there's a brain drain effect, right? That then means that you have less people in these legacy media outlets who have institutional knowledge, who are veteran reporters, and so that then weakens their offering and weakens them overall. So it's not a good place. I'm thinking a lot about this, but I agree with you. The biggest flaw in independent media that I see is I don't see independent media recreating the news gathering operations that legacy media has. Eric Mays. Eric, thank you for your donation. And Eric has a recommendation for me. If you're in Richmond, and I will be, try Terrence on Broad, great crab bisque. Ooh, that sounds delicious. Or Dots Back In, greasy spoon since the 40s. Okay, Eric, hold on. Got my handy dandy notes. I will write both of those down in here for people who have recommendations about Richmond. Throw them to me. And Eric, thank you for your donation. Paul Smith, in your opinion, what president in modern history had the best relationship with Congress? Oh, that's an interesting question, Paul. So let's just go backward. I mean, Trump's relationship with Congress isn't like that much of a relationship. It's more he tells them what to do and they do it. But Biden's term was odd because it was during COVID, but Biden had a good relationship with Congress. He might actually be my pick because he came from it, right? He had spent decades in the Senate. He knew McConnell. He knew all these people. So he had a good relationship. Trump, first term, not all that great. Obama was, even though he had come from the Senate, sort of disdainful of the House and Senate. So not him. George W. Bush, no. Bill Clinton, that was okay. George H.W. Bush, I would probably say Biden. And I know that's a little weird because he's only president for 4 years, and a lot of that was during COVID. But he is someone who I think saw Congress as an equal partner, who understood what Congress did, who knew the people he needed to touch in Congress to get things done. So I guess Biden. Dan W., per your 2028 video, we are in an endless cycle. Politicians constantly campaigning. One more reason for term limits. Fun times. Happy Friday. Yes. For people who did not, sorry, I'm drinking iced tea. For people who did not see that video, basically my point was like, you'd be mistaken. You would be understandably mistaken if you thought that the presidential race was happening this year, right? Because so many Democrats are out doing all these things, going to Iowa, going to Pennsylvania, hiring people to run their PACs, moderating on cultural stuff. But it's 2025 and the election in 2028 is 1,264 days away. We are in a permanent campaign. We really are. I think what it takes to run an effective national campaign for president takes years of planning. And I think that that's what a lot of these people, it's just reflective of that, right? Like, it's also the fact that Democrats don't really have a leader right now, and everyone's trying to fill that void. So there's some of that too. But yeah, we are in that mode. Paul Olson. Here we are for another episode of Friday Lunch with Chris. I already ate lunch. I had breakfast for lunch. It was delicious. My mother-in-law made it. Chris Weinschenker, only halfway through Original Sin, but what did you think of the take on Kamala Harris? I thought that the take on Kamala Harris was predictable. So for people who are not familiar with the book, basically what the book makes clear is that Joe Biden never really thought all that much of Kamala Harris before he picked her or even after he picked her. He called her a work in progress. He did not think that she could beat Donald Trump. It's one of the reasons he ran in 2024 at all. It's one of the reasons he stayed in the race for as long as he did. I am not super surprised by any of that. For people who follow my videos and my writing, I've been saying that for a while now. Like, I really think one of Joe Biden's prime motivators, other than the fact that he liked being president of the United States, to run for a second term was he didn't, especially once Trump emerged as a likely nominee, was he didn't think that Kamala Harris could beat Donald Trump, and he figured Kamala Harris would be the nominee. I think he rightly thought that if he got out. I think he stayed in the race after the June 27th debate, probably out of pride mostly, but secondarily because he knew Harris would be the likely nominee and he didn't think she could beat Trump. So yeah, I am not terribly surprised by that. Brett Green points out to me that I am almost at 88,000 subscribers, which is awesome. Andy Smith, Chris, did you see Michelle Bachmann is selling Car Shield now? So the former Minnesota Congresswoman and 2008 candidate for president? I can't remember. They all blend together. I did not see that, but I can't say I'm surprised. Dr. Banana says on the West Coast, we're having breakfast with Chris. That's lovely. Breakfast with Chris is like breakfast at Wimbledon. Carlos Gamez, congratulations so far, Chris. Thank you. I appreciate it. SD Guy 1234. Hey, Chris, your channel is growing so fast. It's great to see. It is. I'm psyched. Chris Vetter, do you think the big, beautiful bill passes if Jerry Conley had been alive and voted against it? Where does the GOP get another vote to offset his? So yes, I think it would have, Chris, because Republicans had 2 more votes in the can. So it passes 215 to 214. And as you note, Jerry Conley from Virginia had died on Thursday before the vote. But they had 2 votes in the can. So Andrew Garbarino from New York, apparently, according to Mike Johnson, the speaker, fell asleep during the vote. Remember, this is like an all-night debate, so they had been up and up and up. But Garbarino apparently fell asleep during the vote. His staff did not wake him up, and he missed the vote. So that's one, and he has said he would have voted for it. And the other is Dave Schweikert in Arizona, who I don't know how, but like he went right at the end of the vote and tried to vote, but they had already cut the vote off. But his vote would have counted 2. So yes, they would have still won it. But I think you make a good point, which is, the last 8 members of Congress to die in office in the House are all Democrats. And I think at some point Democrats have to have a reckoning with age and competence and strategic retirement from Joe Biden on down. Let's see. Maxwell Feiner, could you see a J.D. Vance Trump Jr. in either letter ticket in 2028? Absolutely. I think it would be unlikely J.D. would run for vice president again. But yes, I could absolutely see J.D. Vance as the presidential nominee and Don Jr. as the VP. I will note to people, Don Jr. was at the Qatar Economic Forum this week. I made a video about this. If you haven't seen it, check it out, in which he basically opened the door wide open running for president in the future. So like, he's clearly thinking of it. Mary Atwell, hey, Chris, I'm new. Nice to see you here. Amazing, Mary. Welcome. Dan W., Dan, thank you for the donation. Dan says, another ECNL weekend. Speaking of soccer, big weekend in the Prem. 5 teams fighting for 3 Champions League spots. Who gets in, and do you have a team? Yes, it is an ECNL showcase in Richmond that I'm going to. For people who don't know, this is sort of one of the 2 elite soccer leagues in this country at the sort of non-professional level. And as for the Prem, I do have a team. It's Tottenham Hotspur, aka the team that beat Man United and claimed a trophy this week. Boom! It's been a terrible year, but we're taking it. Let's see. Robo Garden. I had a question. Can Trump's cabinet members be prosecuted after 2028? I don't see a reason why they couldn't be, and I think they could be prosecuted before 2028. I believe it's only the president who can't be prosecuted while in office, but I'm not totally sure about that. Chris Weinshanker says the Stonewall Jackson Museum is a great place to visit near Richmond. You know what, Chris? I have seen the where Stonewall Jackson was killed, or not. That's not true. Where he was shot and he eventually died from his wounds. Friendly fire. He was walking back to his troops. I've seen that, but I've not seen the Stonewall Jackson Museum, so maybe I'll check that out. Josh B. Now that we've had some time to look back on the election, how much effect do you think RFK had when it came to throwing the election toward Donald Trump? Yeah, not that much. I mean, I do think RFK Jr. has a constituency. Let me say that. I think it's like this fitness influencer, momfluencer. You know what I mean? People who do like mom content on Instagram and TikTok. So he does have a constituency. Is it a big enough constituency that like it turned the election to Donald Trump? I don't think so. I mean, there was a breakdown of the electorate, the 2024 electorate this week. I wrote about it. I don't think I made a video about it, but I wrote about it on my Substack. And basically the election came down to this. Donald Trump did better with Hispanic and Black men, young Black and Asian American men, 18 to 29-year-olds, and Kamala Harris didn't do any better among women than she had in 2020. So I mean, could RFK have some tangential effect, particularly on the men there? Maybe, but I'm slightly skeptical. Barry Riley says, if you like beer, who doesn't? The Vale Brewery is great, and it is family friendly, and they have good food. Vale Brewery. I'm writing it down. If you like beer. Douglas Trapasso. Question. Hey, Chris. Question about TV news. Do you think each of the network nightly news shows will still be around a decade from now? I think they will all get dumped within 5 years. CBS will be first. It's a great question. In a decade, probably not. Yeah. I mean, they don't serve any real purpose anymore, right? Like the only people, I haven't looked at this lately, but my guess is the age demographic, the average age of someone who watches the nightly news is probably over 65. So, I mean, I hate to say this, but actuarial tables being what they are, a lot of those people in the next decade will probably no longer be alive. And I can't imagine people my age. I haven't watched the evening news 25 years. I actually tuned in and watched it. I mean, accidentally it's on is one thing, but I haven't watched it, and I'm in the news, and I'm 49. I'm not like 25. So no, I think it's going away. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't think CBS is going away or ABC but I do think, and I'm going to write about this. I think here's a reality of mainstream media. The emperor has no clothes. All these people they hire to run these companies. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. The truth is there's no answers. They don't have any answers. They don't have any solutions because there isn't a solution because the way that people are consuming content, news content is changing. People like me are growing. People like them are shrinking. That's going to continue to happen because people want more authentic, personal, individual content where people are not feeling like big corporate bosses are telling you what to do or there's gatekeeping going on. I just don't know how you change that, right? Let's see. Rob, in Richmond, Pearlie's is always my go-to for good eats. Pearlie's. Okay, I got it. Note taken. World Meta, why is Trump so successful? I mean, because I think he is a master of, and by the way, for people who say he's not successful, I would say he's been elected president twice, which is pretty successful. He is very good at understanding what motivates people to do things. He is very good at harvesting fear. He is very good at harvesting anger. He has a really natural understanding of crowds, of what people want and how to give it to them, how to frame things. We live in a reality TV culture now where everything is kind of like behind the scenes and here's what's really going on. And he plays to that. He's a reality TV star and producer. I always say the best way to understand his presidency, imagine each day is an episode of a reality TV show that Donald Trump is both the star of and the executive producer of. And that's, I think, why he succeeds. MJ Jewel. MJ, thank you for your donation. MJ says, the legislative branch continues to cede its power to the executive. With how Trump has used them, what do you think a Dem would do in 2028 if they won? Look, I've said this before. The expansion of executive power is not something that a Democratic president, if they win in 2028 and become president in 2029, is going to hand back to Congress. Like, if Democrats win the White House in 2028 and they also control the House and the Senate, they are that Democratic president, whoever it is going to basically say, I want you to do these things that I want you to do. Don't fight me on them. Because executives want power. They're not going to give back. Oh, the presidency has too much power. No way. So again, that's why I think what Donald Trump is doing and the Republican response in Congress to it matters, in that it's a telling indicator, I think, of how it will, if it works, if he gets the one big, beautiful bill through, et cetera, it's a telling indicator of how things will work going forward, no matter who is the president. Fark says, keep it free. So Fark, I assume you mean keep it free, like don't have a paid tier at all on YouTube. I mean, to me, I'm going to continue to make a video a day and do this live stream for free. But just so people know, there's no chance I'm going to just like put everything behind a paywall. Not going to happen. The question for me is, I do 2 videos a day. What if I took that other video and I put that behind a paywall and I gave you one more live stream where you could, maybe a 30-minute live stream where you can interact with me in a smaller setting, and I put all of the interviews I do with politicians over at Substack on behind that paywall? Would that be something that would interest people? So just to be clear, there's always going to be 4 videos a week and 1 live stream a week that is free. Always. I mean, unless I can't make 4 videos a week, and then in which case I will tell you. But the plan is for that to be the case. The question is, for premium people, what do I do? Aldo Marino, will the fights with Harvard and other interloping into academia and science field cause a brain drain, hurt the U.S. down the line? Yeah, definitely. If we can't bring foreign students to Harvard and other major universities, yes, of course it will cause a brain drain. I'm skeptical that's what's going to happen, to be honest, because I think this is just a negotiating tactic. I don't think Donald Trump really wants to ban foreign students from going to Harvard. In fact, he's talked about how we need to keep people who come into this country who are the best and brightest in this country. So I think this is a negotiating tactic to try to get what he wants from Harvard. Rusty, thank you for the donation. Rusty says, do you believe we're getting closer to the point where GOP congressmen will turn on Trump? If they get blown out in the midterms, will that be the end? So, I don't think right now we're all that much closer to it, Rusty. And the reason why is because even though Trump's approval rating overall with the whole public is like 42, 43, 44%, he's still at 80 plus with Republicans. So I don't see Republican congressmen, unless you're in a swing district. But if you're in a safely Republican district, I don't see the political incentive for you to be like, I'm out of here on Donald Trump. If they get blown out in the midterms, let's say, and by blowout, I would say they lose the House by 30 seats, 40 seats, and they lose the Senate, which seems unlikely right now, but who knows? Yes, I think there would be some "this is not working" happening among GOP congressmen. Would it be everyone? Honestly, I don't think it would be. I know that seems crazy, but I don't think it would be. And I still think the 2028 race, even if there is a blowout in 2026, I still think the frontrunners in 2028 are likely to be Trump acolytes, Marco Rubio, Don Jr., Vance. If there's a blowout in 2026, does that raise the chances that okay, I like Donald Trump, but we need to move on from him, Republican emerges? Yes. Short of that, I think it will just be a choice of sort of Trump 2.0s. Matt Davidson. Matt, thank you so much for your donation. Matt says, if you've already answered, you can skip this. How is it even legally speaking possible for Trump to tell Harvard, which is a private institution, who they can and can't enroll? Yeah. Matt, I will admit a little bit of confusion on this. Now, what I will say is that this is about foreign people coming over from other countries to enroll at Harvard, which the Department of Homeland Security, in theory, has a little bit more say on. But I'm with you. Remember, though, it is a private institution that takes federal money, right? And so it's not purely a private institution. To me, it seems legally very dicey that Trump could do this. But again, I think you have to remember, what is he solving for? I don't think he's really ultimately solving for a ban on foreign students going to Harvard or other elite universities in this country. I think what he's solving for is he wants concessions out of Harvard, and they are fighting him. He wants it to be less woke. He wants it to, in his mind, be less supportive of anti-Semitic thought and actions on campus. And so that's what he's selling for. I really don't think he's like, yes, it would be a good thing if we banned foreign nationals from coming into the U.S. to get educated. David Tarvin. David, thank you for your donation. David says this: hey, Chris, you seem fairly optimistic about current events. What drives that perspective? I mean, I guess I'm just not overly pessimistic, David, which probably reads as optimism, given how much pessimism there is out there. I generally think that, look, what I try to do is day to day cover what's happening. Like, what is in front of us and what do we see? And what does history tell us about where we're headed? Somebody asked me, I do a Friday mailbag every Friday over at Substack where I do something like this. I just answer questions from people in the community, but I write my answers as opposed to talk about them. And somebody said, like, why are you not, why is your balls and strikes approach, why are you keeping that even as Donald Trump destroys the government and destroys democracy? And I guess I don't see that. Like, yes, Donald Trump is radically seeking to change the executive branch, to change the ability to profit from the presidency, to change our role in the world and how we are seen economically, militarily, etc. I'm not ready to declare doom on that just yet, because I'm taking it day by day. Like, yes, we can get spun around the axle, but my point is, if every day the sky is falling, if you're subscribing to someone, every day tells you the sky is falling, democracy is over, sorry, itchy nose, democracy is over, it's all over with, well, then what do they say next week when we still have a democracy? Like, I just feel like there is a very lucrative content market in declaring democracy over, Donald Trump, Hitler, and all this stuff. And I think I understand why people do it. I just don't think it's super responsible. I try to take it as it comes. Change is change. Change is not necessarily good or bad. Change is change. Where do we go from there? I'm going to take it day by day and see where we go, rather than running to the end and insisting I know how it's going to happen. Sam has YouTube Premium ideas. Subscriber exclusive additional chat each week. Also more chats for special events. Could do must-see lines from Trump's speech in real time. Maybe chats, Q&As with special guests. I'm headed in that direction, Sam, so stay tuned. Patrick Murray, Chris, your shirt is awesome. Thank you. I really like the shirt. It also matches my glasses. Mitchell Buck. Oh, sorry, I skipped Robert New York. The Joke Tapper book. I assume that was a purposeful typo. We already knew it all. How embarrassing. So let me just say this. It is very easy to say we already knew it. Use your eyes and ears. Of course, Joe Biden was failing. It's just a very different thing for you to pop off on YouTube or X or wherever and say that, and for a media outlet or even a media figure like me to say Joe Biden is failing. Because you need evidence for that. Like, you can't just say, I mean, I guess you can just say, but you shouldn't just say, if you're someone like me, Joe Biden has dementia. In the same way that I don't say Donald Trump has dementia, because I'm not a doctor. I haven't examined him. Yes, I saw Joe Biden was moving slower. I saw more gaffes, although he had always been gaffe prone. But that we should have all said it's over for him, he's in decline. Well, there wasn't the reporting that supported that. Now, you could say you should have asked harder questions. Fair. I've admitted I should have. I will also say, though, that I'm not sure this book is possible in May 2024, because a lot of the people who talked to Jake and Alex were on board with this cover-up, were cowed into silence. So the idea that, well, they knew this and they could have written it then, I'm not sure that's true. Again, I think it is facile, and I get it, to say we all saw it with our own eyes, everyone knew it. You saying that is different than credible media outlets reporting it. Let's see. Matt Davidson. Doesn't OS take most of the 2024 blame off? Original Sin. I see. Oh, now we're using OS as the shorthand. Doesn't Original Sin take most of the 24 blame loss off of Harris and put it squarely on Biden? Wouldn't that give Harris a push to run in 28? Or is she dead set on the California governor's race? Thoughts on Porter versus Harris? Original Sin is not particularly damning when it comes to Kamala Harris, other than to confirm what we already knew, I think, which is Biden didn't think all that much of her, didn't think she could win. Okay. That said, book aside, I think Harris has the stench of defeat on her a little bit. She was the nominee against Donald Trump in 2024, and she lost. I think she needs to kind of sanitize that by running for governor. And honestly, I don't really think it's a race between her and Katie Porter. I mean, I think Katie Porter is just her and Katie Porter. I think Javier Becerra, the former California Attorney General and head of HHS, is in it. Villaraigosa, former Los Angeles mayor, is in it. I think Harris will be in it. Again, I think Harris is the favorite. But interestingly, Chuck Todd, my friend who I do a podcast with every Monday on my Substack, noted that he thinks that California governor's race will be harder for Harris than she thinks. That there's more skepticism about her, and that race won't be a cakewalk, which I thought was interesting. Okay, Mitchell Buck, say hi to Uncle Tony for me. I will do that. I would keep this channel free until your growth slows down. Substack is good for your hardcore fans. I have an Uncle Tony question and a politics one. Okay, so your Uncle Tony one is, how long will Uncle Tony do PTI? How long will Tony Kornheiser do PTI for? Don't know. Less than the next 20 years, more than the next year. And Mitchell, I'm scrolling down your other one. Why is Laura Trump not named for the heir to the Trump throne? Good question. I think Lara Trump, who is Eric Trump's wife, is probably the smartest of all those Trumps. Maybe Ivanka, but certainly she's up there. I think she's going to run for something. She almost ran for North Carolina Senate. She talked about running for governor of Florida. I think she will run for something. It probably won't be president right away, but yeah. Cole W., what's going on with the Maine Senate race? So the big thing this week, Cole, is that Jared Golden, who's a very moderate Democrat who represents the 2nd district in Maine, which Trump has won in 2016, 2020, and 2024, but Golden has won as a Democrat, and that's mostly central and northern Maine. He said he's going to run for re-election. He's not going to run for the Senate or for governor. If you're following this closely, there was never a chance he was going to run for the Senate against Susan Collins because he worked for Susan Collins when he was a staffer, and they're friendly. Governor, maybe. So he's going to run again. That's going to be a hard race, but he has won hard races before. So basically now, Democrats have all of their eggs in the Janet Mills basket. Janet Mills is the outgoing governor of Maine, Democrat. She has said she's not super interested in the race, but then people say, oh, she's more interested than she lets on. She is 77 years old. I don't know, it should be 78 or 79 if by the time she won. Susan Collins is not easy to beat. There's a reason she's been there since 1996, despite Maine being a Democratic state that Kamala Harris won. If they don't get Janet Mills, and I don't know if they will, if they don't, I think Collins is probably going to win. She might win even if they do get Janet Mills, but I think Collins is probably going to win. They'll find someone because the state is Democratic enough that you can't not run a real candidate against Susan Collins. But that race is not looking as good as it might. Let's see. Paul Olson. Paul, thank you for your donation. This week, you basically said Trump hasn't deteriorated much over the years, but in the past, he could have a logical TV conversation with Larry King. Today, he would ramble incoherently, not losing it. Yeah. Paul, I did make that video because I believe it, which is like when people say, he's losing it, he's talking about Taylor Swift. Well, in 2012, he was talking about Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart's relationship. Like, he's always kind of been this guy. I really do believe that. Is he a little less on it than he was in the 90s? Yes, but he's also 35 years older. Like, I think that is natural, a little bit of natural age. He does not strike me as significantly reduced. I think he could have a conversation with Larry King. Larry King's dead? Do a quick check on this. Larry King. Larry King is dead. Okay, he died in 2021. I just want to make sure. So he could not, in fact, have a conversation with Larry King. But in theory, I think he could. Would it be a little more rambly? Would he tell more stories? Sure, but I don't think it's evident. I don't see a real decline. I've been covering the guy extremely closely since 2015. I don't see a real decline there. I really don't. I know people disagree with me. BMP456, thank you for the donation. What do you think about Trump's birthday military parade coming up in D.C.? So it is June 14th. He turns 79. The U.S. Army turns 250. I think this was always going to happen. He wanted to do it in his first term after he went to France and saw their thing that they do. He loved that. He always wanted to do this. I've heard there's going to be like 32 Army tanks. There's going to, he likes this stuff. He likes pomp, circumstance, and military might. If you hate Donald Trump, you will say this is just more evidence that he wants to be a dictator. If you love Donald Trump, you'll be like, hey, he's celebrating the military. This is great. Razor X999. Razor, thank you for the donation. Razor says, concerning Biden's mental condition, beginning inquisitions as such, even to the point of undermining the legitimacy of his last N years of the presidency, how far do you think this is going to go? Okay, I read the book. It's clear to me that the authors believe, based on their reporting, that at least as of mid-2022 and maybe early 2022, Biden was declining sort of like this, and then it went like this. I think we need to know more about that time period. This was the last 2 years of his presidential term. I think there are people who are saying he shouldn't run in 2020. Hindsight is 2020. So it's like, I don't know that we can say that now. The guy did win. But I think it is a fair question to ask, how fit was this guy for office during the second half of his term or during his entire term? And I don't know that we're ever going to get an answer to that. I think it may be unanswerable. It may be unknowable ultimately. But I do think those questions will be asked. Let's see. Maxime Fouget, my friend from Canada. Hey, Chris, do you see the U.S. losing influence internationally as Western countries seem to be working on creating alliances on trade and security? Yeah, Maxime, I think one of the things that is the reality is as the U.S. pulls back from these global alliances on trade and everything else, other countries will move in to fill the void. I mean, I think that's inevitable. I haven't seen that much of it yet, but look, this is a clear opportunity for other countries, including most notably China, to kind of step in and fill that economic and military void. So we'll see, but I do think that could happen. Missile 18, hey Chris, your channel rocks and we appreciate your hard work. What's your opinion of NewsNation as a channel like legacy media that's trying to capture moderate viewers? Well, Missile, if you don't know, I'm a paid contributor at NewsNation. So I like NewsNation. There's a reason I agreed to sign on with them, because what they're trying to do, which is kind of center analysis, not like Donald Trump is the worst or Donald Trump is the best, I like and is consistent with kind of like how I'm approaching this. So I'm really pro NewsNation. I hope it grows. I think it is growing. I do a bunch of stuff. I did an interview this morning with NewsNation. I'm going to be on Leland Vitter's show tonight at 9:00 remotely from Richmond. So I'm a believer, but again, take it with a grain of salt if you want, because they pay me. But I would have said the same thing. Otherwise, it's the reason I signed on with them and the reason that I went on with them. Let's see. Ari's Styrene. Do you think Trump's tariff suggestion on the EU is based on the new mineral deal the European mining company made with Greenland? So this came up a little bit earlier in the chat. It could be. I mean, I think he just wants deals. And he thinks his ace in the hole negotiating tactic is to say, we're going to put more tariffs on you. I'm not convinced that's the only tool in the toolbox, but I think he thinks it. So yeah, it could be. Who knows with him. Vandy81. Hey, Chris, thank you for your donation. Hey, Chris, I'm going to visit Georgetown University for the first time on Sunday. Okay, awesome. Any restaurant recommendations near the campus? Yes. It's not fancy, but it's the best and you must go there. Wise Miller's Deli, 36th and Prospect Street, right outside the gates. Wise Miller's. Go to the one on 36th and Prospect. Get the chicken madness. If you don't like hot stuff, get it with light hot peppers. If you do like hot stuff, just get it regular. Best sandwich in the world. Oh, God, I'm so excited for you. I'm hungry right now just thinking of it. All right, trying to get through people who have not asked questions. Jane McGrath, hey, Chris, Canadian here. From my perspective, isn't Trump exhausting everyone? I find the lack of pushback by Americans in the second term alarming. There is an exhaustion element to it, Jane. I also think it's kind of, I will say this, and I don't know if this is the right feeling or the wrong feeling, but I think a lot of people feel this way. It's like a lot of Democrats and the media spent the first 4 years, Donald Trump's first 4 years, insisting that everything was going to go to hell and democracy was lost and this was the worst moment. And then he lost and people moved on. And so I think there is a boy who cries wolf thing happening here, which is like, well, last time you said everything was terrible and democracy was ending and he was Hitler. And now you're saying it again, but it didn't happen last time. So I think there's some of that is happening, I think. Herlan Alvarado. Herlan, thank you for the donation. And Herlan's question goes like this. Is there a possibility that Ken Paxton, being the Republican Senate candidate, could allow Beto O'Rourke or Colin Allred a victory for Democrats? Yes. I don't think it's going to be Beto O'Rourke. I think it's going to be Colin Allred. But yes, so for people who are not following Texas politics, you should be. John Cornyn is the incumbent senator, got elected in 2002, incumbent Republican, very down the line, traditional conservative, not really MAGA, but not anti-MAGA either. There's very few anti-MAGA people left in the Republican Party in elected office. He is being challenged in this 2026 primary by Ken Paxton, the Texas Attorney General, who is full MAGA all the time. Ken Paxton is the guy who led the lawsuit to try to invalidate the votes in the swing states that Donald Trump lost that the Supreme Court threw out in 2020. If Paxton wins the primary, and I think right now, if it was held today, he would. Doesn't mean he will win in the future, but if it was held today, he would. If Paxton wins the primary, I think Democrats have a 40 to 45% chance of winning with Colin Allred as their nominee. Because I think some people will not vote. Some Republicans who would vote for Cornyn will not vote for Paxton and will vote for Allred. Again, it's not a 60-40 for Allred. It's a 40-60 for Allred. But yes, I think that is a possibility, particularly if the national landscape and mood is anti-Republican or at least anti-Trump in 2026. Texas is not going to be anti-Trump, but it might move the sort of window to win over a little bit more for Allred. Let's see. Justin Z, Chinese is a great restaurant in Richmond. It's on the corner of East Carey Street and 14th Street. Chinese. I'm adding all of these. Thank you all for the recommendations. Jack Moon, hey, Chris, just got a new job mentoring foster care teens. Awesome. It made me wonder who you think is the best president on foster issues, and are there any politicians I should be watching? You know, Jack, I will admit my ignorance on that. I don't know. It's obviously an issue that I think people talk about, but not sort of a front of mind issue. Let me do a little research on that. I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you, but congratulations on the new job. And gosh, that seems like really important work. Stang Bartoffer. There's a pretty big difference between outlets like The Economist and The New York Times. The latter is obscenely vulnerable to audience capture, and that audience craves only affirmation. The Economist craves only affirmation? I don't know if I agree with that. Oh, the latter. The New York Times audience is and the audience craves only affirmation. Sort of. I mean, yes, I think more Democrats and more liberals subscribe to the New York Times than conservatives, but it's also an amazing publication. AB, what do you think about Trump's administration spat with Harvard, right or wrong? I addressed that earlier. I would basically say all of this stuff, especially the we're going to ban foreign students thing, is a function of Trump trying to get leverage for them to do what he wants. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Generally speaking, picking a political fight with an elite institution is not necessarily a bad thing. Catherine Beach says, McLean's on Broad for family breakfast in Richmond. McLean's on Broad. This is terrific. Jedi Ghost Bear. Hey, Chris, I understand you're a Civil War buff. Have you read Disunion by Elizabeth Varon? It's really good and I think pretty relevant to us today. No, but I will check it out. I'm going to make a separate note. I'm not going to put that on my Richmond restaurants note. That is Disunion. I am a Civil War buff. I love the Shelby Foote series. I was thinking about starting to reread the Shelby Foote trilogy on the Civil War, but maybe I'll put this book in front of that. Dan Lemming's PR team just says, God bless President Trump. Okay, there we go. It's out there. Let's see. Fellow Ozian, you're awesome. Love the channel and can't wait until you reach 1 million so I could say I was here at 50,000. I mean, if I reach 1 million, man, holy moly. Thank you. John, bringing me down off the high from that comment, says, gosh, Chris, you are naive. Stang Bartoffer said, the sky is falling twice as hard. Click here to find out why. See next week, thrice as hard. That's kind of my view. It's like, I always say, like, when Donald Trump got elected president, it was like, doom, everything is bad. And I was like, wait, do I still have to take my kid to soccer practice? Or is that canceled too? Like, that's the thing that's hard, like life goes on. Joe Mama, Joe, thank you for your donation, says Smirconish Collabor interview. I smell a viral hit. Let me reach out to Michael. I really like him. Maybe we do like a Substack live that I then post on YouTube for paid subscribers to my top tier. So maybe that. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's see. You Snooze, You News. Who has the most charisma of Democratic presidential hopefuls? So, okay, let me just say, I'm going to do like lightning round now because I got to leave pretty soon and there are a zillion questions. So I'm going to try and knock them out pretty fast. Most charisma right now of Democratic presidential hopefuls, Pete Buttigieg and AOC. Sean Donahue, any thoughts on who Dems choose for ranking member on oversight? No, Sean, because AOC not doing it tells me that she's probably running for president. That's the most interesting thing there. Jordan asks, both parties need a leader that isn't eligible to eat off the seniors menu at Denny's. Fair enough. Asher Dworetsky, as an American Jew, I was horrified by the senseless murder that took place this past week in Washington. How do we raise this issue that the violence is getting really scary? This should never happen. Well said, Asher. I don't know how we raise it any more than we are, but yes, well said. Several people correct me to note Michelle Bachmann ran for president in 2012. Thank you. Rich G. Chris, with President Trump's most recent tweets about tariffs and the Harvard situation, do you think Donald Trump may be burning his political capital within his own party? No, I don't. Again, this is speed round. I have more to say, but I'm trying to get through a lot. Jordan asks, if J.D. Vance became president, would he pivot away from protectionism on trade, asking as a Canadian? Probably not. He is very much aligned with Trumpism on that front. I mean, I think he's a protectionist, so probably not. Dan W. Hot Spurs. Chalk this up to two people with differing views can still be nice. Go Chelsea. God, Chelsea, the worst. Michael Gates. Hey, Chris, a number of Democratic congressmen died recently. Why doesn't it help House Republicans with their slim majority? Well, it does in the sense that all you need to pass something in the House is a majority of the actual sitting members. So rather than 435, it's 432. So you need 215 rather than 217. So it does help them marginally. Niner Empire 101. Hey, Chris, any plans of collaborating with Ezra Klein in the near future? Ezra and I work together at the Washington Post. I'm a big admirer of what he has built. He is he's a really smart dude about media and about everything else. So I don't know him really. We are friendly, but not friends. If anybody has contact information, happy to reach out to him. Let's see. Yog Ball, no question. Just wanted to say thanks for all you do. Thank you, my friend. Patrick Murray, YouTube paid subscriber idea. Like donations, make members' questions get answered first. That's a good idea. Maxwell Finder, who's the most famous person you have shaken hands with? That's a great question. Have I shaken hands with Donald Trump? I don't think so. I don't think I shook hands with Barack Obama. Maybe I shook hands with Barack Obama at the White House at the White House Christmas party at some point. It's probably a politician. I have not shaken hands with any like super famous celebrities who are not politicians. Stephen Williams, with regard to Trump wanting the best and brightest, I think he wants the best and the whitest. Okay, I see what you did there. News. Nothing immoral about a paywall. Thank you for doing these live streams. If you branched out into Rumble, you'd be a unique voice there. My issue with Rumble is like it's just too much. Like so many outlets, I can only do so many. Sly Fox, hey Chris, could you give us a quick summary of your crypto scam Substack article? Why people don't care? I'll do you one better, Sly Fox. Go back. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. I made a video about Donald Trump's crypto on my YouTube channel about World Liberty Financial, which is their crypto bank, and then the Trump meme coin. I think I did a pretty good job explaining there. RBH 2021 makes a donation and says, RIP Larry King. Yes, Larry King, rest in peace. He is dead. I will tell you, when I was a young man in my 20s, I went on the Larry King show. It was on at 9 o'clock on CNN, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern back then. It was one of the thrills of my life because I had grown up watching it. Rampaging Pickle. Chris, it sounds like what you were saying is that he is shaking down Harvard. Well, to some extent, although I don't know that Harvard's going to pay Donald Trump any money, but he is trying to leverage his power and influence to get what he wants out of Harvard. There's no question about that. Matt Davidson. Chris, if you're ever in Philly, Geno's in South Philly is the best, better than Pat's. Oh man, the Geno Pat's debate goes on forever. Guardado Tube. I'm sorry. Hey, Chris, do you think if the Democratic presidential 2024 ticket were Gavin Newsom, Bernie Sanders instead of Harris Walz, that Dems would have had a better chance and possibly would have won? Who would have been best? I don't think they would have won. I actually think Donald Trump was probably going to win, given that Joe Biden was not popular. Even if Joe Biden hadn't run, I think it would be hard for Democrats to have overcome that. I mean, could it have been closer? Sure, it could have been closer with different tickets, but I think Democrats probably would still lose. Jay Framson, I didn't get a notification about this chat. How do I set up notifications? Sorry, I'm not that accomplished with YouTube. If people can help Jay, do me a favor, because I don't know how to do that, but if people can help him, that's great. Mark a lot. I don't understand this book, I assume you're talking about, crowd. Why are people more mad at the Dems for handing us, why aren't people more mad at the Dems for handing us Trump? Did Trump win or Biden Harris lose? I blame the Dems. A little bit of both. I mean, I do think that the decision of Joe Biden to run again, which was born of a lot of things, his ego, his lack of belief that Kamala Harris could win, his sense that he is an indispensable man of history. I think that was sort of the key decision in all of this. I think everything else followed it. Though I would say, look, I think given if Joe Biden is the president, which he was, even if he didn't run, I do think Trump probably would have won. Roberta Curie. Hey, right now you get one pick for 2028. Vance, Rubio, or Don Jr., who you got? I'm going to go safe and say Vance. But in order, I would say Vance, Don Jr., Rubio. Ronnie Cook, thanks for calling balls and strikes on both sides. The Dem lost in 2024 in part due to blindness to their own faults. It's critical to remain self-critical. Those who fail to understand history are doomed to repeat it. Wish I had thought of that. Snoozy News. I respect that Chris doesn't go in a fight or flight every time Trump trolls us with a tweet. Yeah. RJ Ware. Hey, Chris, you seem very involved in your kids' lives. True. So I had a question about your view on K-12 education in America as a parent. I want to be a teacher and was wondering your thoughts. Thanks. Become a teacher. We need more teachers. Graham, Chris, the balls and strikes analogy is getting stale. I like that analogy. I know if you're a regular watcher or whatever, you're like, oh God, the balls and strikes thing again. But I like it. And we're adding so many people that I want them to know what it is I do. If somebody's got a better one, hit me with it. Paul Olson proposes a seance with Larry King. We're not going to do that. Let's see. News says Chris is in the pocket of Big Deli. No, Wise Millers is amazing. John said, did you forget January 6th there, Chris? No, I did not forget January 6th. I think January 6th should have disqualified Donald Trump from running for president ever again. But the American public disagrees with me, and that my job is to cover what the American public thinks, not what I think. Green Tree, what do you think America looks like in 2028? Are we cooked? No, we are not cooked. We're going to make it. We're going to make it. Joe Reardon says Chris Cillizza 2028. That will never, ever happen. Sean Somerset, Trump 2.0 is way worse than Trump 1.0. There are no longer adults in the room. Fair enough. Keenan Weishettle says, how about them Spurs? We finally won a trophy. There you go, Big Ange. Matt Davidson. I read that one already. Worldwide Game Boy 56. AOC is great, but she still talks about trans stuff, which is stupid. No one cares AOC. We'll see. I agree. The general public is not terrifically focused on trans stuff. Miss Latine says, would love a Cillizza Smirkanish collaboration. I will do that. Chris Vetter says, you forgot to tell everyone to like the video. Yes. So we got 250 people on here. Just like the video. Give it the thumb. Let's see. Sleepy Reader 666, is Cory Booker running for president? I think he will look at it. Yeah, I think he will. Polls and thumbs up on like, folks. Yes, hit that like button. YD, how do you see the Andrew Cuomo come back? Do you think he has presidential ambitions? I mean, he might have presidential ambitions. I don't think Andrew Cuomo is going to be president. I do think he will be the mayor of New York City, though. Techno Lawyer, Chris, has it ever occurred to you that JD Vance is basically mirror universe Pete Buttigieg? Yeah, like Bizarro Pete Buttigieg. Yeah, that's an interesting comparison. Rich G, thank you so much for your donation. Rich says, Chris, thanks for doing this weekly. Herlan Alvarado, could Liz Cheney run as an independent in Wyoming in the 2026 midterm? She could run, but she wouldn't win. Techno Lawyer, balls and strikes is fine. The point is explaining what you're doing. There's so much political commentary out there, but the way that you handle it actually is different and worth the attention. I am ending on that. Thank you, Techno Lawyer. Yes. Again, rather than the balls and strikes thing, let's just call it this: independent from big billionaires telling me what to do, big corporations telling me what to do, and independent from the two parties. That's simple. Thomas Davenport, whatever happened to the second weekly live stream? Too busy, etc. So Thomas, I am going to do a second shorter live stream for premium subscribers. I have to launch the premium piece. I'm trying to do it in the most thoughtful way possible. Thank you all for subscribing. Thank you all for watching. I will say a couple things. If you have ideas of where I should eat, drink, and be merry in Richmond, Virginia, email me, Cillizza C, just my last name and my first initial, @gmail.com. If you want to donate and support me, you can do it via the super chat. You can do it at buymeacoffee.com. It's just a way to make a reoccurring donation what I do, or go over to Substack and check it out. It's $6 a month, $60 a year. You're going to get tons of content delivered into your email inbox, 2 to 3 posts a day. If you like this, you will like that. I hope everyone has a restful and, most importantly, safe Memorial Day weekend. I am going to try to take it mostly off from working and watch soccer. I hope everyone is well. Thank you if you're a subscriber. If you are, tell other folks about this. We are growing almost to 88,000. We are going to get to 100,000. Let's do this, people. Thank you as always, and take good care.